All right, welcome everybody to this week's client support webinar for June 7th, 2023. Great to have everybody here. All right, Sue, before we get going, Jean, any announcements for anybody?
Well, I just want to welcome everyone, and I see a few folks here that were also in the earlier event we just finished up, and yummy. Good to see you all here. And also, I guess I want to remind everybody that Fridays, Stock Analysis Fridays on YouTube is fantastic. So come join us. And in the meantime, if you can hear my voice and see the webinar screen, please type hello or A-OK in the questions area. That just lets me know the systems are working, and also that's exactly where you want to ask Bennett questions. All right, Jim, thanks for letting me know. Good to talk to you on the phone just now. And Eleanor, good to see you. Did you try to get into the Yummy? Because I didn't get to see you in there, but I saw you trying to get in. Anyway, and Mark, good to see you. All right, Bennett, back to you.
Awesome, Jean, thank you. Isn't she great? She does a great job. Everybody loves Jean. All right, Sue, let's keep going here. Let me cover some administrational items. So the purpose of the client support webinar, just to recap, is to basically provide an ongoing weekly, kind of almost like a support workshop for everybody trading the markets using either our software tools, or maybe you purchase the home study courses, so forth. But the idea is for you to come here, maybe pick up a tip or two. You know, it only takes a tip or two to do well in this business, and also to learn a little bit about structure, and also answer any questions that you may have. So definitely important to attend, and we do record all the sessions, and the sessions are kept in a kind of like a special place on our YouTube channel called the unlisted area. And the reason we unlist them is basically we like to keep them private, because we may discuss certain things that we don't want really to have the general public hear. So the idea behind that is that we give you a link to this unlisted area. In the area, you know, where you log in with your username and password, the same area where all the home study courses are and the software download area is, that area there. And if on the home page, there's a little area where if you scroll down, you'll find client support webinar recordings. And so that will take you to the hidden area, and you can watch all the recordings. We have a ton there. So if you ever miss one or you want to go back and review one, definitely check that out, okay? Definitely check that out. All right, so let me go through these administrational items, which of course will include our risk control. But like I always say, without the risk, there is no opportunity, right? I need to trademark that or something. But in any case, risks are a real part of trading the markets, because we work in a realm of probabilities, not certainties. Everything in the markets is not guaranteed. However, we like to have an edge, and the edge equals a higher probability of doing something rather than the other thing. And so you always want to operate with an edge and protect yourself against the times that edge does not work. And so that's what risk control is all about. That's also, you want to always be trading with risk capital. And also too, we don't know your personal situation, but the person familiar with your or your money manager or your financial advisor there at home, they should, and they'll know. You should run all the ideas that we talk about here past them, because some may be suitable for you and some may not. And there's many factors like your age, tolerance to risk, and so forth, and also your short-term and long-term financial situation and goals come into play too. So some people could take more risk than others, just based on what they've got coming downwind of them or upwind of them, in terms of commitments they might have financially. So definitely check with them and get a good handle on that. Now, when it comes to risk control, this is an area that we really excel in. We're really good at it. And you want to start out, there's a couple books that we have on that will help you a lot. And the book on money management for traders is one of those books, as well as the Trader's Money Management System. So check out those if you need help in that realm. We're coming out with a new Art of Trading book. My publisher, Wiley, is probably going to release that later this year. And it's going to be a really good book, a lot of new good stuff in there. And then, of course, I have the Elliott Wave Technique Simplified, which has been a really well-received book in the Elliott Wave community. And then I have the Survival Guide for Traders and so forth. So those books available at Amazon and available at this time. All right, so Ultimate Trading System is the ART system along with the OWL, PTF, TLM, and ERI. So basically the top row is our charting software. We use that for entries, exits. We know where we're going to put our stops based on that information on those software tools, and scaling out and exiting the market. And then we apply those across 3 different time frames, and that is part of the multiple analysis that you see me using whenever I analyze a stock. So great software, and you can buy this all at once or a la carte, okay, depending on what your budget allows. So a lot of people start out with the ART software, then sometimes they add the OWL, PTF, TLM, and ERI. Also, too, we have scanners in the middle and our risk control software at the bottom. So we kind of got all the bases covered there. All right, so with that said, let's jump into the charts. All right, any questions before we get going? Any questions out there for those that are here that they want to bring to the workshop and have me help them with? So feel free to go ahead and bring up those questions at this time. Now, before we get, while you're doing that, let me ask another question. Who's using TradeStation out there? Who's using TradeStation? So if you have any questions on TradeStation, I can specifically help you. Here's the TradeStation platform. Now, if you're using NinjaTrader, I also have that right here as well, okay? And then if you have any questions on the risk to reward calculator, which is our software tool, all right, I can help you with that as well. And here's that right here, okay? So, don't hold back. Ask anything you want to ask. Now, how many new users do we have here? How many new users do we have here? We got a pretty full room. So how many new users? All right, good, couple, good. Well, welcome, okay? Definitely welcome. All right, so let me talk a little bit about the markets and probabilities. I always kind of like to bring up some little topic we can discuss. All right, so Mark, great. So Mark, you have the ART software. So the ART software focuses on price patterns. Let me just, for you, since you asked, let me just bring up a couple things that I want to discuss here. And give me 1 second.
And just an FYI for you, Mark is a futures guy, right, Mark?
Good. Well, in that case, let's put it on the futures market. Now, here's a futures day trading, and we do that, of course, a lot. And Mark, let me just tell you another thing. Since you bought the software recently, you get 2 weeks free, or a week free, I guess, in our futures day trading room. So don't forget to join us there. And we are there every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So it's 2 hours. We trade very short time frames, but it is the futures market. And basically how we trade during the day on these intraday time frames is the same way we trade longer term. So that is always a possibility, okay? And regardless of if you trade stocks, this is a good point too, regardless if you trade stocks or futures, okay, it doesn't matter. The same theory goes behind whether you're going to enter or exit using our software, because it works across all markets and all time frames the same way. So you don't have to worry about, just because you're trading the futures market, if I am showing something on stocks, that same thing you can do on futures, because we're not trading the news. What we're trading here is price patterns and technicals, and you get the same technicals and price patterns, regardless of any market. So we have many people using the ART software for futures, stocks, and also forex. That's another area where you can use it. So it really doesn't matter the market you're particularly trading, nor the time frame, because again, you see these repetitive patterns on all time frames and all markets. So that's a kind of a key thing to take away. So Mark, are there any questions that you may have since you're using the software And this is your, basically, I guess your first week of using it. All right, feel free to ask, okay? And when you buy our software, we do the free installation for you as well. Okay. Sure. Okay. Well, we'll be here every week. Okay. So don't forget that. All right. So anybody else? Any other questions coming up?
So I think Mark's interested in the ES.
Yeah. So I've got the ES in front of me. This is the micro ES right here, Gene. Okay. So the micro ES is the same as the E-mini. It's just a different contract, same price. I mean, you can use the ES if you want. In our trading room, we usually trade the micros, okay? But it doesn't matter. It just depends on how large your account is. The nice thing is whatever account you use for trading futures, it's important that you're able to choose the right account based on your account size in dollars. And the reason for that is you always want to be able to trade more than one contract. Some people, the reason why they created the MES contract is a lot of the ES got so expensive. And so if you had a kind of a smaller trading account size, you could only trade like one, maybe two contracts on the regular ES. If you drop that down to the MES, you can trade a lot more. So what does that do for you? Well, what that does for you is it allows you to scale in and out of positions. And so that makes a big difference because, if I'm on 10 contracts and I hit a point where I want to scale out, well, I can take 3 contracts off, I can take 5 contracts off, 6, whatever I want to take off. But if I'm only trading one contract, it's all or nothing. And so that's why the multiple contracts is much, much better, okay? So keep that in mind, all right? All right, Mark's going to configure a laptop, new laptop. Ooh, nice, okay? So when you get that configured, Mark, just give us a call or, schedule a time for our tech support guy to install it, okay? All right, there you have it. All right, so let's see, what trading platform do you trade futures with? I can trade futures with both, James. This is a question from James. I can trade futures with both, with pretty much any platform that has futures data. So I choose NinjaTrader because I am paying for data that imports in there, and it's called Kinetic. So I use that, and we also have a futures account with them too. Okay. So both stocks and futures. But it doesn't matter. You can use any account you want. Now we have some people use TradeStation. Nothing wrong with that either. In fact, we have an account there too. Okay. So it all depends on what platform you're used to and familiar with. The reason I stay on Ninja a lot is because most people starting out, the nice thing about Ninja, it's a free platform. Okay, now if you want to get fancy with it and do all your orders through your brokerage and things like that, then you do have to pay for their module. All right, that is another way you can go. But in terms of just starting out, if you just want to import your data in from even a broker, all right, the platform's free. So it's a nice way to tiptoe in while you're getting used to everything. Good questions. Yeah, so and you'll have, Mark's right, you'll have different commission structures for different products. Like the MES will be different than the ES and things like that. Okay, so it all depends on what broker you're using, and there is a benefit. I mean, if you're at that account size where you're kind of right on the border, you're not quite big enough to go the full ES, but you're fine for the MES in terms of multiple contracts. Then if you have to pay a little bit more for the MES, I think it's worth it, okay? But that's a decision you can make, okay? All right, let's see what else is coming. All right, so Jim is using TOS, which is Thinkorswim. So TOS is an abbreviation for Thinkorswim. And Thinkorswim is owned by TD Ameritrade, okay? Just so you know, in case you don't know. And you can import that data into NinjaTrader. All right, so Jim is doing that. Let's see. All right, so the only limitation with TOS is apparently it doesn't have a 15-second chart capability. Okay. I'm not sure. I haven't used TOS, and I'm not sure if anybody else can help him out with that. Let me know. Okay. Anybody else can help us out with that? Let me know. So there may be a way you can custom figure it. You know, is it the data doesn't, is it TOS doesn't have 15-second, or you can't figure out how to make NinjaTrader look at a 15-second chart? Those are two different questions. Okay. Yeah, you're right, Mark. I keep forgetting. TD Ameritrade now is owned by Schwab. That's right. Oh, how these brokers, they buy everybody out, right? All right, so okay, so you're good with the Ninja charts. So it sounds like it's actual data. Interesting. Because on here you can go and just choose 15 seconds if you want, like that. So that if if there's data, you'll get it. If not, you won't get it, obviously. Well, I got to tell you, you may want to consider like I have a connection here with Kinetic, and that gives me intraday data for all the stocks and all that kind of stuff. And then I have my brokerage account with Ninja, where I have intraday data flowing through. So you may want to think about opening up a Ninja account if you want that 15-second chart. Okay, just food for thought. And you can always open one up. Pretty easy to do. All right, and Al is saying TOS, because Al uses TOS. He says TOS will not give you intraday data on futures. So with that said, Al, does that mean you cannot even get a 60-minute chart on futures? That's kind of interesting. Okay, so basically, Jim, there's your question right there. So Al, who is also a TOS user like you and using Ninja, he is saying that TOS doesn't have any intraday data. So it's not just the 15-second. All right, so now that helped him a lot. So thank you, Al. All right, now Eric. Hi, Eric. Eric, you aren't Eric Green from back in Plano, New York, are you? I had a friend of mine, Eric Green, back there. All right, so Eric's asking, will you be using the web version? So, that is a new technology that's coming down the pike, and we've considered it. And basically, it would work something like one of these platforms that you log into and you can access everything online. And it is an appealing thing. So we're always looking into stuff like that. I don't know what the cost is to run something like that. So that always comes into the figuration of whether the cost expended is going to be worth it. I don't know. We haven't really done a really analyze the desirability of how many people would want that, but that's a great thing to look into. So pretty cool. We're also looking into that not only for a charting platform, but something like the Trader's Assistant. I've always thought would be kind of cool to be an account you log into. Now, years ago, the problem with that was that a lot of people were traveling, and so they didn't have access to the internet on the plane, and they would like to look at the Trader's Assistant data. So that wasn't quite as important as possibly charts. So we're kind of looking into that. Yeah, I heard that. Have they transferred over yet? So Eric, what Eric is saying, which is good information, is NinjaTrader now has apparently a net account for transferring over. Multi-charts does too, and that's another platform. The only problem with that then is if it's all online, then our software has to be preloaded into that. So we would need to work on that. That should be pretty easy to do if Ninja allows it. I'll have to look into that. So Gene, maybe a good phone call to Ninja this week on that.
Okay, I'll give Ryan a call.
Yeah, give them a call and see what they say. Now, Eric, one more question. I assume they're always going to have a application or software platform like I'm using available. So this net is an add-on. They're not transferring the entire thing to the net, I don't think. Most platforms are not doing that. So if you're using the app like I am, where you have to install it on your computer, then that type of thing will probably always be around, I would. Gene, I'm going to mute you out if you don't mind.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay. So let's see what else we got. So Eric, if you know any more information on that, feel free to chime in there. Appreciate that. All right. So anything else? Any other questions? You know, we never know where we're going to go in these workshops, so it's, you know, there's never really a total plan on what we're going to cover necessarily, because it's so question driven, and which I love. Okay.
Well, Al is in the house. I'm surprised he hasn't put a stock pick in there.
No, I know, right? Well, this is one of Al's back here from the last session, RDHL. All right. So let me just talk a little bit about this. All right. Now, this kind of will lead me into another area. So this is kind of good. So my style of trading, we all have our beliefs in how we trade, right? And then what I do is I use the software in order to trade my belief system. Now, if that sounds like, well, what does he mean by that? Basically, what I like to do is I like to get into trends early, right? So some people don't. Some people like to get into trends after they're already halfway into the trend. Whatever style, it really doesn't matter. Some people like to scalp using our software tools. Now, one distinction I want to make though, all right, is if you're a position trader or if you've grown up in an investment area, as soon as you talk about day trading to anybody, they think you're scalping the market, okay? And they actually also think you're gambling. I mean, they do, all right? But they're wrong, okay? There are intraday trends that we try to catch during the day. Now, to somebody that's trading, you know, holding stocks for years, that may sound like, you know, foreign to them. But when we're day traders, that's exactly what we're doing. So we're looking at trends intraday, just like any other stock chart we look at, whether it's a weekly chart or a daily chart. And so when you're trading a 1 minute time frame, for example, like on a, you know, ES contract, well, you're not going to be in it that long, but what you're trying to do is be in it so you catch that trend and make some money, right? If you're, you know, trading intraday trends. Some people trade intraday trends. Some people trade between the reversal bars and scalp, and some people just trade the PTF indicator that we have. Okay, so it all depends on what you're comfortable, what your style of trading is. And so our software tools are designed to accommodate those styles. That's why, you know, one person may trade it one way, another person may trade it a little bit differently, and it all depends on your style. And then you create your edge in using the tools to that particular style, okay? So my style, and I know one that several other people like, is I like to look for stocks that have either moved very far in one direction to the upside or very far in one direction to the downside. And RDHL, which you're looking at now across 3 different time frames, all right, has been moving down for a long time. So there it is. I mean, you can see it on all the charts, right? So I'm not going to go short here, right? It's already down, but I may look for a new long trade and try to get in early. So that's my style. So when I'm using our scanners, I'm going to look for markets that have sold off or have peaked and then have developed a sideways, possibly bracketed market like this, okay? And then I'm going to look at, to see if we have any bullish pyramids. We don't, so it's not time to go yet. But when one forms, then that's going to be a possible entry. And even if the downtrend is not over, the fib retracements are enormous on this stock because it came down so much. So you may get all the shorts covering. You may get people going in and say, okay, the value's here. I mean, you can't beat this now. And you usually get buying coming in at the bottom, even though the stock may not be super great in terms of what the analysts think. It just becomes a situation, because we're momentum traders, that the momentum down is done and people now are going to cover their momentum short trades. And so no more selling results in buying, and that buying increases the stock for what appears to be no reason. And so that's the kind of trades I look for to get in the beginning of those type of movements. So that's my style, and you can use the art software to help you do that. It's kind of cool, right? All right, so let me look at, so this is an example of one that sold off. I'm not ready to go into it yet, but I'll put this on a watch list. And a watch list is a list you can create of potential trades based on your style that you may want to go into when it is more favorable, okay? And how are you going to know it's more favorable? The software tools are going to tell you, okay? So here's one Jim would like to look at called Plug, P-L-U-G. Whoops. Oh, wait a minute. I got my pointer on. Hold on, sorry. P-L-U-G. And let's see what we got. Please take a look at Plug, okay? So, all right. So Jim is asking on this one specifically on the 60-minute chart, which is this one on the far left. So let's open that one up. All right. So he's asking, why the heck did the PTF turn yellow? All right. I think that's what your question is, right? All right. Well, let's talk about what the PTF told us here. So back in May 23rd, not too long ago, markets moved up and made a peak here and then pulled back. At that peak, the PTF turned green. So what the PTF is saying is that there was enough strength in this movement up that the oscillator got above the upper line that we use to determine whether it should be green or not. Has to get a tick above that, right? So it was enough. So what does that mean? Well, as soon as you see that, you know there's a 75% probability, because that's the accuracy of the indicator, that the market at some point will return and take that high out. That's all it's saying. Now, it's not saying you can't get a retracement, because you got one, but it's just saying, or how long it's going to take, but it's just saying chances are it's going to go back up. So remember, we talked about probabilities and having that edge, all right? So an edge of 75% is pretty darn good in the markets. Pretty hard to beat that, honestly, all right? So if you were thinking about getting out here and your stop was down here at the pyramid, you probably would not want to do that, okay? Nor would you want to use maybe one of the signals like the ART bearish 2-bar reversal to scalp out of the trade because you have a green PTF, okay? So here's where the indicators can help you make decisions on scaling out and so forth. However, back to Jim's question, is that why did it turn yellow over here? Well, what happened, Jim, is it got above the high that it said it was going to get above. However, at this time when it did it, the power of this move was not as strong as back here. And so this did not breach the upper limit, so it turned it yellow, neutral. Now, neutral is neutral, meaning there's no reading. Okay, don't read into anything more than the fact that that time, whenever you see it go from green to yellow, it means it was correct. It's just that the momentum was not strong enough to keep it green at that time. Now, it could pull back, and if a lot of strength comes back in, surge forward and go green again. That's possible. But for right now, the PTF was correct, but it's going neutral because of the lack of strength to keep it green. Now, notice here, there's a red one over here. So on this one, it's the opposite, but the same thing. So this bar down was strong enough to turn it red. And then it went down a little further and went below it. So it was correct, but it wasn't strong enough. But then it kept going down and it was strong to turn it back to red. So then it went up here and then it came down and made a new low. So it was correct again and then went neutral and didn't change until this peak here. Does that make sense? It's not necessarily volume. It's the strength, more momentum. Because volume, you can have high volume and price can be stagnant if you have the same amount of buyers and sellers. But if you have a big move up, then chances are you're having more buyers than sellers, and so that's a momentum issue, okay? So think more momentum than volume. So momentum is how powerful the move is, and you have to have volume for momentum, but there's not a required amount. As long as there's more buyers or sellers, as long as there are buyers or sellers, put it that way. Okay, cool. Very good. Great questions. All right, so I ran over a little bit, okay, but I always like to do that if we have, good questions coming in. I'm happy to do that. All right, so please remember, there's no such thing as a bad question here, okay? We're all in this together to do well. And I love holding these every week because A, it gets me out in front of you all and help you answer any questions you have. And it's good for me to see what's cooking as well. And so for me today, what was good is that, it seems like we need to learn a little bit more about the net possibilities of NinjaTrader. So that was good for me to know. And so we'll find out more about that. And so all good, right? All right, so thanks for being here, everybody, okay? Really super, and we'll see you back here. We'll be back here next week. And again, new users, okay, bring your questions here, okay, because this will be really important for you. All right, you guys take care, and I will see you next week. Thank you.